I don't know if that's a personality aspect, if that's a something psychological. I don't know what it would be. But daily, you have commented to some of the people who have, like people who have test anxieties. I'm familiar with that, having worked in the education system, and having seen that quite a bit. Um, Rick, as a football player, when y'all, some guys practice really well, and then when the lights come on, they disappear. Um, and so I'm kind of wondering, I don't know, Brett, if an engineer can have anxiety by being at a project and understanding the gravity of what can happen in your area if the structure falls apart. I don't know. Is there to help people out who struggle in the courtroom? And I don't know. Maybe it doesn't even apply to the courtroom. I don't know. So I just took myself and made myself a football player in the courtroom, and then it became a lot easier to me. But starting with you, Dele, and then going to Rick and then Brett, you have what would you suggest um we could possibly use to help these people get through the part that you now have gone through? Because now you've been through the court process and you're comfortable in it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm comfortable to your level, but at least I'm comfortable enough where I can connect the dots. For example, if I was giving a presentation on a code I was writing, someone might come up with a question I don't anticipate, right? But I can connect the dots because it has to be something logical when you're dealing with code. And I have that same application when I'm in the law process where it's like, you know, usually it starts with an inkling of a feeling where I'm like, okay, this doesn't feel fair. So I start connecting the dots as far as what rules that, would apply in this case and whatnot. Like I'm not at the level where I say real time calibrating, but I will say I'm like damn near 70% where I'm like, okay, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. But I know one of the things a few things that help me is when reading case law, seeing how things analysis are done on certain levels of statutes and things like that. That helps me a lot because that almost seems like watching game film, you know, of how other cases have been handled. And then the other part is also, this is the hard part is you have to take it and make it be your own. You have to internalize this information some way, somehow, right? Whereas now, like, oh, Greg said this way. No, when I hear something, I take it in and say, okay, you know what? How do I make it my own? Because I'm a visual hands-on learner. So now I can put in a different model that when I'm in that courtroom now, I'm not trying to recall what the words Greg said. I'm trying to recall how I remember information, right? So it's a lot easier for me that I don't have breakdowns in the courtroom.
Hmm.
So internalizing it is part of the biggest part that the biggest hurdle people are going to have to overcome.
And it's kind of interesting because I'm talking to the math guys. I know you all do process, and the courts do as well. Rick, you're a little bit of a different kind of math guy. I know you do numbers, but what would you suggest? And you've also been through the process. It keeps you from being nervous or going through it, unless there is. I mean, I have anxieties, but not to where I'm intimidated by being in there.
Yeah, so one, I think is when you go in the courtroom, you got to know what to expect. And of course, through these classes, you've helped us tremendously understand what is it going to be like. And honestly too, the way that I feel going in there is the judge and everybody else is against me. But as you go in there, you have to be prepared. You have to know your material. You have to know your case, and you have to present it in a way where the judge understands. And of course, we're most of us, I think all of us are not lawyers, so you don't have to use all of the legal jargon. But of course, you have to connect the dots. And if there is specific case law, then yes, you have to utilize that as well. And I think too, this is like me, whether it's in a courtroom or at work or if I have to present to somebody, something that I say to myself is whoever I'm presenting to, they put on their pants and shoes just like me. They're a person, they're a human. So the judge, they're human. The judge at one point, was very new in his or her career, and they might have been nervous just being a judge. So that helps me As I go into a courtroom, I look at the judge as they're no higher than I am. They're equal. They're a person. So that's something that's helps me.
You also played college football. When I said something about particularly when it comes to the law, people saying they're intimidated by the. Somebody told me earlier this week, and Daly was on there, that it's an intimidating situation to be in a courtroom. I said, okay, yeah, I kind of get it, but it's kind of like once you take that first hit, you're ready. Did you apply anything else to what you do, or is it